And that's the Webway Gate. Back to real space. You ready to get out of here, David?
Yeah, thanks for this, man. I really owe you since, the con abandoned me.
Well, I can think of one way you could make it up to me.
I can't introduce you to the Harlequins. I'm not your laughing god.
So you've said, but you've also been saying you worship a deity and have a show that you wanted to talk about involving it?
Oh, right, I wanted to bring it up. This show is a project funded fully by donations and purchases by those who have been enjoying this show, and boy, is it well done. There's a surprising amount of names and faces I recognize attached to this show. Standard sort of products, calendars, posters, DVD sets, Christmas ornaments, shirts, mugs, what you can expect from a Christian production, starring Hebrew and Jewish characters. Even the comic book.
And a phone case?
Weird, but it works.
You've yet to actually name this show, David. Come on, stop stretching the runtime of this video.
Look, I know how YouTube works, but this show is really good. The Chosen. It's about the apostles of Christ, not Jesus Christ himself. He's more of a side character in this. If you play video games, you'll recognize a lot of the voices for this. The show starts with St. Peter, which they call Simon through nearly the entire series, which is weird to me. Ancient Hebrew names were odd, for example, Christ being a title, while his familial name would have been Joseph or Nazareth. The production is entirely funded by people, not a huge production company. It shows the story of Christ from the perspective of those who actually wrote the good book. This is all in all a good story. It's not one for one translation of the Holy Bible. It makes a lot of stories, and it makes a lot of characters, and it makes a lot of drama that there's no evidence of there ever actually being. But it's entertaining, and it's made my friends start looking into Christianity. And that's the intent of this show. It starts the first episode with a statement that tells you that they've adapted a lot of what's in the Bible and documents at the time in order to tell an interesting story. It recommends you find a Bible and actually read, do research, ask questions, and come to your own conclusions. The series kind of starts with St. Peter as the main character, and when I found out this, I was worried it would hyper-focus on the angry saint. When they started introducing other saints like Matthew and John, the two James, and others as well, I got worried it would be spread too thin. Somehow it doesn't though. It doesn't really split focus on episodes, it just... everyone adds something to every situation. Sure, sometimes there are a few disciples missing for an episode, but they were often sent out to do other things on their own, and the show explains this too. Of course, this show does have a few problems. For example, the costumes aren't 100% to the times. You'll see Roman soldiers all the time, given Israel at that point, called Judea, was under Roman rule. It makes sense. Hell, the Romans executed Christ to try and strengthen their ties to Jerusalem, but you'll notice that some of their armors are not accurate. Of course, some of the inaccuracies I can actually excuse, namely one major character, Gaius. He's a Praetorian promoted to Primi at the end of Season 1. He often wears his body armor wrong, which can be taken a few ways. One was that the costume director didn't know how armor works. Another way to take it, which may be more likely, is that the character doesn't have many people too close to him to help put it on correctly. Of course, both options are possible. One does not remove the chances of the other. There's some issues with the Hebrew clothing too, especially for the time. For example, it seems the apostles and the whole crew have a lot of purple for some reason. Purple being extremely expensive color for the time. It was assumed that if you wore it, you were loaded. And then there's the Ethiopian woman, which I don't know what their culture was like before Christ, but I know that the saint that died there had a huge impact on the country. Which was it? Evidence suggests Matthew that it was, who was likely stabbed there with a sword. Oh, spoilers by the way, none of the apostles have peaceful deaths except for Little James, as the show puts it, who died sometime after Christ's crucifixion. Whether it was in Ethiopia, in Rome, in Israel, or in India, none of them have good deaths. But they do it all again because of what they were doing it for. This show is 4 seasons in right now, gonna be 5 in April. And they've shown they've recorded The Last Supper for season 5. But I'm pretty sure we've only seen things out of the book of John. But most episodes have a sort of flashback or flash forward thing going on in the beginning, and given Christ knew what was going to happen to him, it's possible we'll have that shown. Season 5 is coming out fairly soon, like I said, in April. I'm excited for it. I am loving this show, and I'd be lying if I wasn't considering buying some of the products. Maybe a shirt. I do like a nice shirt. Of course, the villains, quote unquote, of the show, and I really can't call them that, are the Romans and the Jewish religious rulers. Now, I want to say, they are not villains. They're just, look, there's a line from the Bible I want to repeat. I am the beginning and the end, the light and the dark, the good and the evil. I am all. And even though they seem to be against our characters, these villains are essentially trying to push each other into doing something about their mutual enemies. Romans want the Jewish population to be under heel, while the Jewish theocracy wants rules obeyed without question. The villains are glorious. Quintus, played by Brandon Potter, known best for his role of Shanks in One Piece, and a lot of other animes too, he goes ham on this role. He's got a great acting face, knows how to contort and emphasize expressions and more. I love him so much and I want to shake his hand. Of course, this is a show about Christ's followers. Christ has to play a role in it, right? Of course. Jesus is played by Jonathan Roumie, who's done a lot of roles before. Celebrity Deathmatch, Law and Order, NCIS, always just a few episodes, though a lot of that first one. He's also played John Wilkes Booth in Saving Lincoln, and played Jesus in Once We Were Slaves, so he's at least used to the role, but I think you might remember him in his video game roles. Remember Jack Cabot in Fallout 4? Yeah, that's him! Huh. He's apparently working on a Death Stranding sequel as a character named Puppet? Okay then, Kojima. But this show is fantastic. One character I can complain about is Eden, and I don't think I'm supposed to hate her so much. Eden is the name they gave to St. Peter's wife, and she's just unbearable. I don't know if it was intentional though. I think the issue I have with her are just issues with modern writings because they are making her out to be just hostile by her nature and getting mad at everyone for trying to help. He did ask you what was wrong, Eden. You kept it a secret. You'll find out in season 3. But this show is entirely free on their website, and I do recommend watching it. It's worth it. You may not be a religious individual, but I do recommend this show as it does show our faith and could make it easier for you to see what we see. You understand, Aaron?
Huh. You know what? I think I'll watch this show as we travel through Rio space.
You're coming with me?
Yeah? Do you think I'm just going to abandon you?
I honestly thought so, yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate this. Let's shove off.